I have this thing called a Zen calendar where every day, you flip off the paper and it's got some sort of Zen quote. And this was yesterday's. So imagine this is a quote by Ram Dass. Imagine two waves, a smaller one and a larger one, traveling across the ocean. Suddenly, the larger wave sees land approaching and gets upset. He cries to the smaller wave, "Oh no, up ahead, waves are crashing and disappearing. We are going to die." The smaller wave somehow is unperturbed. So the larger wave tries to convince her, but to no avail. Finally, the smaller wave says, "What would you say if I told you that there are 6 words that, if you really understood and believed them, you would see that there is no reason to fear?" The bigger wave protests, but as the land approaches, he becomes desperate. He'll try anything. "Fine, fine. Tell me the 6 words." "Okay," the smaller wave says. "You're not a wave, you're water." "You're not a wave, you're water." And I think that speaks a lot to the ways in which we identify ourselves as one thing, but perhaps in reality, we are something else entirely. And I don't think it necessarily has to be about contemplating death, but it can be about contemplating life, that we can imagine that we are, this person in this little tiny box going around with these perceptions. And perhaps if we all worked hard to kind of release the attachment to our preconceptions of who we are and who everybody else around us is, we would recognize the divinity that lives and flows within and around us. So, what does that mean to you? I mean, obviously, it can quell fears when we contemplate the changing form of self instead of the annihilation of self. But what does that mean for your day today? Not necessarily for the contemplation of your, the meaning of your life or what death might mean, but the moment today. In what ways do you see yourself as a wave, but really you are water? Or what ways do you see somebody else as a certain thing, but in reality, they are just another being trying to connect and be in the world? So, as you sit up straight and tall and take a moment to think about how this might impact your day today, contemplating a shifting perspective or a broadening of who we all are. Um, just sit with that for a moment. So as you close your eyes, imagine maybe a relationship where you are feeling bound by judgment for another person or for yourself. Um, Maybe it's the way you perceive something that's happening in the world or whatever it is, whatever you're thinking of. Can you expand to reach beyond the boundaries of what you perceive the situation or a relationship to be, to recognize it as something bigger, broader? And when you do this, when you open yourself up to expansion, what has shifted? What is shifting? And do you notice a change of your own binding to thoughts or judgments? Is there something opening within you? Is there something releasing from you? I mean, metaphors are so beautiful because it's something that we can hold in our mind. We often are challenged by trying to interface with concepts that are broad and esoteric. But when we have something tangible, like envisioning a wave being water instead of just the form that it's taking in that moment, maybe we can hold those images to help ourselves expand through the day today. So feel into your physical body now. Drop into the awareness of your breath. And see what it feels like to have the sense of fullness, both of the inhale and the exhale. Is this the first moment you've cared for the breath today? And if it is or it isn't, doesn't matter. Let's be here now. So sense into what can shift and change just by being aware and observing your breath. Bring your palms together now at your heart and just offer an intention. In what way can you be the water and not the wave today? In what way can you see the world as the water and not the wave today? Let's release the hands and find our way onto our back. And as we stretch out and lengthen and enjoy kind of coming into the physicality of our practice, let's have a moment to also lose our expectation and judgment about what we are going to feel or be able to do in our bodies. Okay? See if you can let your practice unfold moment by moment as an opportunity for awareness, without judgment, without expectation, without putting yourself in boxes. Let's just explore what it feels like to enjoy your body moving. So as you stretch your arms overhead and feel that beautiful length, can you enjoy it? Is there something that kind of sparks a little happiness in you as you open up a part of your body? You don't have to do grand things. You don't have to climb to the top of the mountain to feel present within your own being. So let's just enjoy just a little stretch. And then bring your knees into your chest. And as always, modify anything and everything. My continual hope for you is that your practice is evolving day by day so that you know exactly what works for you and what doesn't, and be able to tailor what you're doing accordingly. So let's circle if you want your knees. Everything I say is just a suggestion. Nothing is I'm not barking out orders. Okay, so that everything is just what it is, an opportunity for exploring self. Maybe opening your knees away, or any other movements. Sometimes it might feel good to kind of stir two pots with your knees, so they don't have to be in symmetry to each other to get the range of motion of your hip joints moving. And right knee into your chest, left leg long on the ground, and explore the range of motion in your ankles, wiggling your toes and just feeling into the freedom of your feet and how nice that is. Make a connection with your skull as well, so feel into the rest of your head. Let it drop down into the earth. Switch sides, left knee and right leg coming long on the ground. Feel the movement of your feet, wiggling your toes, rolling around in the ankles, feeling the sense of ease across your skull and your shoulders. And then release that leg, a star on the ground where we get open and big and wide. Let's roll the wrists and move around in the ankles. And then exhale, draw your knees into your chest. Pick up your head and feel that opening in the back of your body. Again, opening up big and wide, feeling expansive. Exhale, drawing it on in. All right, release your head down. Put your left foot on the floor, cross your right thigh over your left thigh. Draw those knees into your chest. And as you open up that right hip a little bit, maybe a little bit of movement, rocking feels good. Maybe stillness feels good. Heavy, heavy head. See if you can widen the sit bones. Feel the tail dip toward the ground a little bit. Feel your head dip toward the ground a little bit. And then unwind your legs, lift them straight up in the air. Your arms can come up in the air, overhead, down at your sides, wherever you want your arms to be. Let's flex and point your toes, maybe a couple of rolls of your ankles while your feet are up here in the air. Enjoy a little bit of, lymph drainage as we come into a bit of an inversion right here in the very beginning. All right, we're going to open up our legs like a V and bring them back in toward each other. And a handful of times. Remember, your arms can be anywhere you want them to be. They can be down at your sides for a little more support for the back. They can be up in the air, also feeling that drainage of your fluids back toward your center body. Just turning your core on a little bit here. And then bring your knees into your chest. Let your back relax. Put your right foot on the ground. Cross left thigh over right thigh. Draw knees in toward the chest and give a hug. Feel the sense of the heaviness of your head. Try to relax. Let the tail dip toward the ground. Nice wide sit bones. Right, so unwind this. Stretch your limbs out like a star. And then exhale and draw the knees into the chest. And come rolling over to your side and come up to your hands and your knees. All right, so as we find our way onto all fours, let's enjoy the movement of our vertebrae. So the cats and cows that arrive in our body. Enjoy what feels good here. Are you able to move well? Breathing deeply. And then drop back towards child's pose. Walk the hands out in front of you and feel that reach through your spine. Maybe a little bit of movement lives in this posture. Maybe stillness does. How's the breath? Walk the hands over to one side of the mat and open up the rib cage. And just as we can kind of solidify our minds and get tight in our perspectives, we can also feel this way in our body. When we get feeling a certain way in our mind, sometimes just opening up the body can shift our perspective. How many times have you stepped onto the mat feeling not very well in your body, and by the end of your practice, you feel a little bit better? It's kind of magical, the alchemy that happens when we breathe and are present and consciously open ourselves up. There's a lot of tender care that we can take to help ourselves feel better, mind and body, through our practice. Come back to center. Start moving the spine around any way you want. Maybe you want to wag your tail. So as always, let this practice be about you. Maybe you're not even on all fours. Maybe you're standing up and already off to something else, and that's great. My hope is always that you're following the practice that's right for you, not what I'm offering. Curl the toes under, stretch back towards child's pose with those toes curled under so we feel that openness in the bottom of your feet. And then take a moment to bring your heels to touch, and then pull your heels away. Bring your heels to touch, pull them away. You just get a little bit of movement in the toe beds. And then come back up to center, maybe a little tapping of your tops of your feet on the ground if it feels good. Let's find a twist. Left arm lifting high up toward the sky. Exhale and slide that shoulder under, finding a twist here. The head is relaxed and at ease. Breathing deeply.
Feel the openness across the back side of the shoulder.
And reach that arm all the way back up in the air. Hand comes down onto the ground. Let's switch sides. Arm lifting high. Exhale, slide that arm underneath here. Gaze toward the floor, feeling that twist. Opening up through the breath. Inhale, lift that arm all the way back up in the air. Hand down onto the ground. Before we come up to dog pose, reach back toward sitting back on your heels. You can have your toes curled under to give yourself a little extra height. And we're going to take our hands onto the ground, palms facing the ground, fingers pointing toward our knees. And just open up through the forearms a little bit. Sometimes I feel like this is one area that I forget to stretch during practice. I do it every day before work. It's part of my massage warm up, but sometimes I forget to do it with you all. So I hope this feels good. And then come back toward your heels and let your palms lift, but let your fingers stay on the ground a little bit and stretch open through a different area of the hands. And then come onto the finger pads, and maybe that stretches open a little different area of the hands. And then give them a good shake. And now we'll go the other way. So instead of our palms on the ground, now our palms still pointing, fingers pointing toward our knees, but now our palms are going to be up toward the sky. And then turn the eyes of the elbows toward the front. Okay, so kind of getting a little wringing out, a little twist, fascial twist in the forearms. And this can be a little more awkward because you have to be forward a little bit more for most people. So you can always do this not kneeling. You can do this standing and putting your hands on a low coffee table or something, whatever feels the right height for you. And then release that. Sit back, give your hands a nice little shake. Inhale onto your shins, arms coming up. Open up through your breath. A little back bend here if it feels good. Exhale and float forward, child's pose. Bring your hands down onto the mat and let's come to a puppy pose. So walking the hands forward, chest moving toward the ground, hips stay high. Have a breath here. So opening up the spine a little bit. And then we're going to slide forward and come onto our forearms. So coming into a Sphinx pose, shoulders back, open up across the heart. Spread your hands. Hopefully they're kind of wide awake now, so let them spread open. Reach into the legs. And then exhale and melt back down. Bring your left knee up high toward your armpit and turn and look at your knee for a moment. Just let that twisting stretch happen. And then we'll turn this into a bigger twist like we often do. Take that right arm to the left side of the mat and twist open. Finding your breath, we're going to roll back, palms come to touch, and then roll open. Let the knee leave the ground. One more time, palms coming together, reaching open. And then coming back, palms together. Let's now stay. When we come up into the opening twist here, let's stay and let our spine receive this. This is different to do this deep of a twist. Couple of twists we've done before, even doing a dog pose to extend the spine. So notice if that's challenging for you, if twisting the spine before extending the spine is, it's unusual. Usually we find extension first. So just pay attention to how that makes you feel. And then come back around, come on to your belly again. This time we lift the right knee high up toward the armpit. Turn and look at that foot so you feel an openness.
through the front side of your opposite hip.
And then we'll come into the twist. So we're taking our left arm, crossing it to the right. Find yourself opening up into the twist, let your knee leave the ground.
And then exhale, palms coming to touch. One more time, lifting open. Exhaling, hands together. And this time we'll stay. Find yourself coming open into the twist. Pause here, let your knee leave the ground. Again, notice if your spine is like, oh, a twist already. I'm not quite used to doing a twist this deep right away. So just pay attention to what's happening in your body. Let your head leave its stress behind. See if you can melt. Let the skull rest down on the back. Full breath here. And as you exhale, come back round, come up onto all fours, and move your spine around. Let's stretch back towards child's pose. Get a little bit of that extension in the spine here. Drop your head down toward the ground. Open up across your shoulders. Breathe into the sacrum. Breathe into the back of the body. Anything that might have been disruptive about the twist, let it come back home to symmetry and harmony here. And then we'll lift up to dog pose when you feel ready. So hands coming down, curl the toes under. And now that we're up, let's take a moment to really open up our legs. Drop one heel down, bend the other knee, let your feet open, your calves, your Achilles. Kind of start from the bottom close to the ground and work your way up into sensing openness in your legs. Maybe the pose gets a little bigger and brighter and you can feel your hamstrings start to open up. Maybe after a bit you are more still instead of pedaling so that you can really feel the fullness of the back of your legs. Sit bones lifting high, the heels descending, the feet widening, the palms widening. Feeling those roots drop down so you can feel that expansive length through your spine. Notice how nice it feels to take the spine out for a nice long extension. We don't often have this feedback of hands and feet both on the ground to give length into the spine. And walk your feet forward. Bend your knees a lot. Try not to strain your back in this posture. Let's bobble your head, wag your tail, shake, shimmy, whatever feels good. Inhale for a halfway lift. Let's pedal your feet here. You can hold blocks or your legs. Just get your calves to open up one more time. And then melt and fold. Come all the way up to stand. Okay. Bringing the arms up high if it feels nice. Opening up across your chest. Let's cactus open. Get the upper body to start feeling its freedom too. And then release your hands down. Maybe your hands still are feeling that forearm stretch, so just give it a good shake and release. Okay, great. Inhale, lifting up, lean back a little bit, just sense into the spine. Let's cactus, open the arms, stay high in the back body, give a good squeeze. Inhale, reach your arms up again, and then exhale and fold forward. A halfway lift, spine grows and gets spacious and free. Exhale and melt to come back down. Step back to a lunge, right foot in front, left foot behind, place your knee down. Open up across those hip flexors and feel, every time we touch a new place in the body, see if you can sense into the beauty and joy of being in your body in that place in this moment. All right, let's lift your knee up off the ground, find your lunge, and let's move. Straightening, we've already opened up the hamstrings some. Just notice if that is coming well for you, kind of finding that freedom in the hamstrings. Is it here? We're going to do a little work with the hamstrings in a little bit. So let's just try to find where are they now. And then find your lunge, ground yourself. Feel your feet root down. As you press your front heel into the ground, turn on the underbelly of your leg, your calf, your hamstring, your glutes. Inhale, come up to crescent lunge, reaching the arms up to the sky, feeling that extension and openness through the back leg. Maybe you want a little cactus, maybe you want to lean forward, maybe you want to keep your hands down. So explore what's going to feel good in your body right now. And then release your hands down onto the ground. Let's stand up, half splits, standing on that right leg. Come up onto your toes for a moment and then down onto your heel and up onto your toes and down onto your heel. And one more time, kind of waking up the calf. Come into half splits now, full foot on the ground. Stretch that leg behind you, engage. Feel the long spine, crown to your foot. Deep breath in, and as you exhale, squat in a one-legged squat. Maybe your head bows, maybe your back rounds teeniest bit. And then push straight. Feel your hamstrings and your glutes work for you as you straighten both legs. Twice more. Exhale, Jiva squat. Tuck down in on the exhale. Inhale to push straight. Enjoy your working body. Exhale. Squatting on in. Inhale, pushing that leg straight. And then step your back foot forward, Uttanasana. Inhale for a halfway lift. Feel the extension of your spine, the extension of the back of the legs. Exhale and melt. Before we do the second side, let's take our blocks, if you can manage it. This is a little tricky. Sometimes we have done this with the inside of a chair. Here, let me show you from the side. We're going to tip the blocks and we're going to put our feet, toes up on the blocks to whatever place you can get them. You can bend your knees a little bit into this posture. You can straighten your legs in this posture. It will give different sensations. Feel the extension. And if this is too low for you to be able to hold the block, you can do this posture. I just happen to have a piece of furniture here that's perfect for this. So if you want to, you can have this sense of drawing your spine a little higher and a little straighter, whatever feels good. And then let's come off of that, come up to stand, and just take a moment to, we're gonna feel the downward pressure of gravity. So I want you to come up onto your toes and then kind of drop strongly, kind of like don't slam your heels down, especially if your heels are, you have unhappy heels, like some bone spurs or something, but just get a little weight so that you can feel that reverb up through your spine. Okay, so let it kind of be something that's kind of teaching your spine its lesson of, oh, that's weight bearing, right? And now heels on the ground, and I'll show you from the side. Just bend your knees, okay? And bounce. Let your breath come. You don't have to leave the ground at all. And we're just gonna feel that reverb again through our spine. And of course, you can, move around in your spine. You can turn this bounce into a little bit different pattern if you want to, or you can stay very just still and your Tadasana bouncing. This can be very subtle. You don't have to be big in your bouncing to feel the impact through your spine. And this is good for your spine. If you're not used to doing this, your spine can revolve a little bit and be like, no. But when we have a reverb through our body, our discs have to work. We get a little bit of movement in our discs. We have to kind of feel into that weight bearing of our body. All right, and then come into stillness. Notice that you might still have an inner shake going on in your body. Notice the inner body. What's happening? How is your proprioception sensing stillness differently now? What are the fluids in your body doing? What are the organs in your body doing? Come into your full breath. Now, reaching the arms, And exhale, and moving forward. Let's take our left foot in front and our right knee behind, the right leg behind. Place your back knee on the ground for a moment and just feel into that openness of the hip flexors and that back leg. Enjoy this. Breathing deeply. All right, let's lift that knee up off the ground and let's start to bend and straighten the front knee. I want you to pay attention. How's your back? So sometimes when we do some of those unusual movements where we have, a little bit of bouncing, if we struggle with our discs or with our vertebrae in some way, you might be feeling it now. So should be very, very mindful and careful of your movements. Engage your core to protect your spine. Let's not forget. And then when you're ready, find your lunge, root into your feet, press down so you feel your hamstrings, your glutes, turn your core on and rise up. And your pose does not have to be upright. You might be leaning forward because that's better for your back. Just see what feels good for you. Breathing deeply, open up the pose to whatever place is comfortable in your body right now. Release your hands. We're going to come forward with your spine, hop up onto that left foot and bring your right leg straight back behind you, half splits. Extending through the spine, feeling your glutes and hamstrings on both legs turn on. Take a deep breath in, and as you exhale, Jiva squat. All right, find yourself tucking down in, knee next to or behind, inhaling to press your legs straight. Exhaling, drawing in. Inhale, push your legs straight. One more time. Lengthening out. Place that foot down next to your other foot and feel Tadasana, or half lift. Extend the spine and fold forward. Lifting on up. Feel the reach of your spine. Reach your arms back. Open up your chest. And then exhale and bring your feet down. So letting your spine find a little different movement now. So we're just getting into this fluidity. Now remember, your pose is for you. So if something doesn't feel good, you're not going to do it or you're going to modify it. Make sure you're breathing really well as you do this. Let your arms kind of smack onto your body. All right, and then bring your arms out. We're going to twist a little deeper, perhaps, letting your heel leave the ground. So we're twisting the hips too. Breathing well, arms up. Out to the sides again. And then back down. All right, coming back to Tadasana, a little bit more bouncing. Be very gentle. So you don't have to, this doesn't have to be a really big movement for your body to experience a lot of change from it. And again, you're rocking and you're shaking and you're bobbing can be look in lots of different ways. And again, find your stillness. Find your breath. Notice how experimenting with moving your body in all these different ways is changing you. Come up onto your toes and back onto your heels. And just a little bit of feeling into your feet. Okay. So find your stability. We're going to come into chair pose. You can bring your legs together or you can bring a block between your legs. You can have your arms down. You can have your arms up. We're going to move here in a moment. So just find your first bit of posture so you feel this grounding. Let your heels descend And feel that through your spine. When you drop your heels, can you feel the support for your body? We're gonna come up with the arms, feel that full chair pose. And we're gonna come up onto our tippy toes. And then back down onto the heels, arms back, lean forward. Inhale. Come up through chair, up onto your toes. Exhale. Last time. Up onto the toes. And then find your chair. Drop in, press your heels, turn your hamstrings and glutes on strongly. Maybe your hands want to come to your heart for this, for a little extra balance, or out to the sides. Bear your weight into your right foot. Hover. This is our balance for today. Hover your left foot off the ground. Finding your breath. Slowly standing on up, bringing that left knee up in the air. Soften your gaze somewhere. And then lower your foot down onto the ground, back to a chair. Place your hands where you want them. Bear some weight into your left foot, over your right. Feel that sense of stability. Don't forget your core is a part of this stability, not just your hamstrings, your glutes, your quads. And then slowly stand up straight, lifting that knee. Finding your breath. Lower your foot down onto the ground. Turn sideways and take your legs nice and wide. Okay, lean forward a little bit so your back can open, elbows inside your knees. Drop your head if it feels nice to do so. Drop your seat as well. Open up into the inner groins, feeling your breath. Okay, come all the way back up to stand, reaching the arms out. A standing star. Come down to a goddess. And so monitor how deep you want to be. See if you can feel that stabilization. It doesn't matter how low you go. Press your heels into the ground. Turn on the underbellies of your legs. Find your breath. Maybe bring your arms out. Maybe bring them up. Maybe keep them at your heart. Maybe bring them down. Okay, now just like the bouncing we were doing in Tadasana, let's have a little bouncing in our goddess. Keep your spine upright. This will, shift into your spine very differently than Tadasana. It'll move through your hips in a totally different way. So let's just feel the effect of meeting the ground, meeting the ground, meeting the ground. All right, standing star. Turn back to the front of your mat for a dog pose. Feel that extension now. Open up through your spine. Enjoy hands and feet on the ground. That gives you support for the spine to expand and open. Move forward into a plank, holding yourself steady. Feeling that integration. Can you still feel the expansion of your spine? Even though a lot of muscles are wrapping around your torso, can you still feel that your vertebrae can lengthen? And find the ground. Find your belly. Roll the shoulders. Any back bend that feels good in your body. Feel that extension and length. And then exhale. And lower yourself down. We're going to come on to our back. So you might want to block. We're going to come into a bridge pose. And as we find this posture, maybe you want to be more passive and have a block underneath your pelvis. Maybe you feel like you really need a little stability support and you'd like to have a block between your thighs to help with that stability. Maybe you want to try with no blocks. So figure out what you need. Before we lift up, lift your toes off the ground, lift your heels off the ground, move your wiggle your feet around so you feel your feet, get to know your feet again. And then when you ground your feet into the earth, feel the four corners of each foot before you even lift up. Feel the big toe mounds, the pinky toe mounds, the inner and outer heels. Inhale and lift. Open up through your chest, rock onto the tops of your shoulders so you feel that fullness of your posture. And notice right away what part of your four corners got lost. Sometimes for me, my big toe and inner heel can lose their weight a little bit. Maybe it's the same for you. Maybe you lose your outer feet, but whatever you've kind of lost a little bit, refind, root your four corners. Be very mindful of your neck. Turn your hamstrings and glutes on. Maybe a little dragging of your feet toward your shoulders, maybe pushing them away. Just kind of find that swirling around of the weight bearing to give you a sensing of what muscles need a little help. Then lower your pelvis down onto the ground. Pause here. Neutral territory. And feel into the length of your spine. We're going to come back to that first posture we did where we bring, actually, before we do that, windshield wiper your knees just to ease up through your spine. And then grab a block also before we lift our legs, which we're about to do. But grab a block and just have a moment of grounding the four corners of your feet and having a nice little gentle squeeze of the block and a release, and a squeeze of the block and a release. So you feel into those deep core muscles that help you stabilize your low back and your pelvis. We're going to need them. And relax the block out from between your legs. Start with your arms down at your sides. We're going to bring our legs straight up. And just notice, can you still engage those same muscles that we just had with the block? And perhaps, you want the block in between your legs to kind of give you that feedback loop. See what feels good. Draw your spine and femur bones down. Feel that your spine can lengthen even though there's a lot of stability required through your core muscles. Think about a plank pose. Okay. Slowly draw your knees into your chest. Relax a little, maybe a little shake to and fro. Put your feet on the ground. Arms stretch out to the sides. Lift your hips over to the right. Bring your knees up and drop them to the left for a twist. Turn your head. Relax your spine. So some of the work we've done today have been kind of putting some challenge into your vertebrae. So I'm hoping you're kind of doling it out well enough, appropriately enough where you're not giving your body a burden that it can't carry. The more we can learn to support ourselves with our core muscles, the better off we'll be. Come back to center. Scoot your hips over to the other side, dropping your knees. Breathing deeply. And then coming back to center. Back to our feet, grounding four corners. Block between your thighs or no, your choice. We're not going to lift up into a bridge. This time we're going to drag our pelvis toward our shoulders. So feel like you can kind of turn on a lot of the muscles along your spine. As you drag your pelvis toward your shoulders, you might find ripple, ripple, ripple of those multifidus muscles engaging along your spine. And then relax. Neutral spine. We'll do it one more time. Ground the four corners of your feet. Stay use the sticky mat to draw your pelvis, your sacrum really, down into the ground, and then drag your sacrum toward your shoulders so you feel those muscles in your low back turn on all the way, rippling up your spine. See how far up you can get those multifidus. They travel all the way up the whole spine. And then relax. Neutral spine again. Maybe a little windshield wipering, maybe just being still. So just see what feels good. Body. Pause for a moment and let your spine find neutral. Now we're going to roll to our side. We have one more thing to do standing up. I think you'll like this. So either we're going to do this. Well, first let's just stand in Tadasana and just notice your body changing shape, upright. Unlock your knees, feel the soles of your feet. Can you engage the deep core muscles to support? Like you have this bowl of support around you so that we're not leaning into our vertebrae and dropping them, smacking onto each other, but that we have intrinsic support to help our vertebrae float. We're going to get a little length here. So hands on either a wall or on a piece of furniture. And we're just going to do a very similar pose to what we did when we had our back on the ground and our legs in the air. But now we have this long spine. So notice your floating ribs. See if you can prevent them from falling. Lift your floating ribs into the body. Feel the extension of your spine here. Maybe you want to reach one hip back and the other hip back, letting your low back open a bit. Maybe that doesn't feel good and you'd rather just stillness. And round your spine a little bit to come out of the posture. Breathing deeply. We're going to find our way onto the ground. All right, so have a wall close by to put your foot on. We're going to do a reverse pigeon pose, but with our foot on a wall so we can keep that extension of the spine that we've been developing. Okay, so right foot on left knee, left foot on a wall. I have it on my table leg, but wherever you are, the closer your body gets to the wall, the deeper the pose, the further away, the less. So find your perfect place. And then see what it might feel like to either stretch your arms overhead, your arms down at your sides, your arms out like a T. So whatever makes you feel at ease in your spine. Square hips, so we don't want to let that right hip hike up toward our right shoulder. Pelvis is even. Dip the tail. Finding your breath. All right, when you're ready, we'll switch sides. Left foot on the right knee, right foot on the wall or on a piece of furniture. Be mindful that because we don't have to reach with our arm, our spine can be at ease. Full breaths here. Relax and put your feet on the ground. So before we move in any direction, I want you to take a moment with your feet on the ground, neutral spine, and ask your spine, what direction do you need to go in? Do you need to forward fold like knees to chest or a happy baby? Do you need to back bend, like a supported bridge on a block? Do you need to twist? Do you need, a simple twist, or do you need to lateral bend where you kind of turn your body into the letter C on the ground? And there's no reason why you have to choose one or the other. You can do a little bit of everything, but ask first, what intuitively would your body like to do? And if you don't get an answer, that's okay. Try all four, but just see if you can get a little release in your spine. But I don't want to tell you which direction to go because everybody's different, right? And your forward folding might just be simply knees to your chest. It might be deeper with the happy baby. It might be deeper with the plow pose. Perhaps your back bend is something very simple, like putting the block under your pelvis at a very low height. Maybe you'd like to be higher. Right? Maybe what seems like it might feel good for your back is an inversion where your block's underneath your pelvis and you lift your legs up. Your twist also can be shallow or deeper. If you're wanting to do twists, you might just simply windshield wiper your knees just the teeniest bit. You might go into a full twist. Okay? And the lateral bending, maybe you want to just have your arms overhead like we do in the beginning of class and just, reach into that ladder where your hips come offline a little bit. Maybe you want to turn your body into the letter C. So experiment with either 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 movements of the spine, flexion, extension, or flexion, I should say, and extension meaning the back bend, and rotation, twisting, and lateral bending. So just see what it is that your body needs. A lot of times less is more. So you don't have to go into extreme movements to let your spine release itself. Okay? Sometimes less is more. And maybe you're like, no, I want to be neutral. I just want to, hang out with my feet on the ground or my knees bent. And that's great too. So experiment with, and as you do these postures, whatever you're playing with, notice the impact that they have on you. And there's no rush to find your way to Shavasana. But once you feel like your spine has had some release and some completion, Shavasana is here for you. And you might feel we did a lot with the spine, kind of sneaky today. So if you feel like your back's a little vulnerable, you might want to put your calves up on a chair or have a lot of support underneath your legs and under your knees for Shavasana. Remember, you can do child's pose for Shavasana with a bolster under your chest. You can do a side lying Shavasana. So, choose a pathway that's going to make your body feel comfy. So as you start to settle your body in whatever posture you're going for, as always, make yourself aware. Are you comfortable in your temperature? Are you warm? Is there any bright light shining on you that you need to block in some way by covering your eyes or turning the light off? Is there anything else that you need to drop into this posture? Remember, Shavasana is really important. So do what you can to make yourself comfy. Imagine you have a weighted blanket over you. Any part of your spine that needs support, imagine a sandbag or a healing hand. breathing. Whatever position you're in, you melt for a moment. Can you imagine that you're not a wave, but you're just water? That can take so many shapes. Let's begin to move our body. Wiggle your toes or roll around in your hands, maybe turning your head from one side to another. Eventually finding your way to your side. Coming up to sit carefully, slowly. Your hands together at your heart. Once you're upright. Just take a moment to breathe. To offer your expansion of your mind, your body, your breath outward. Holding space for the freedom of possibility that we all can be different than our perceptions sometimes allow. Offer that grace to another. Namaste. Thank you, everyone.